Hey, KOP Nation, Tanner Lee here, of course, of the Kicking Out podcast. Back with you yet again for another Who's Next video. These things have become videos I look forward to. Wish I would have started them earlier in 2025, being that World's End coming up a month from this week in Chicago is the last pay per view of 2025. This will be the last video of the year for the Who's Next series. But don't worry, the series will be continuing on in 2026. So now that I'm recording a video, that means that pay per view must be in the books, right? Exactly what that means. Full Gear 2025 in the books. Like I said, World's End up next, December 27th. Hoffman and Estates, or Chicago, if you will, the Now Arena. But first, before I dive in to who's currently holding all the championships in AEW and who I think will dethrone each said champion, please give this video a like. Really helps us out in the algorithms. Give our channel right here on YouTube a subscribe. And you can also follow the Kicking Out podcast out at Kicking Out Pod on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Blue Sky. We really appreciate the support. And make sure you're subscribed and following us on your favorite audio podcast platform as well. And if you listen to our episodes on those audio podcast platforms, give us that 5-star rating and review. We really appreciate it. All that is a way you can support our podcast without spending any money. But if you do want to spend some money and support our podcast, you can do that in two different ways. You can go out on kickingoutshop.com where we have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have zip-ups, we have drinkware, just like this KOP Kicking Out Podcast mug with myself, Shep, and Paul on it. And you can also get KOP t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees. Just type in Kicking Out Podcast. You'll find a whole slew of t-shirts on there, which all of those on Pro Wrestling Tees, you can only get on Pro Wrestling Tees except one. There's one t-shirt on there that's also on kickingoutshop.com. With all that said, now I will dive into why you're all here, why you all are tuning in to watch this video. You want to know what I think about the current champions in AEW and who I think will ultimately dethrone said champions. And we'll start off hot and heavy like we do each and every one of these videos, and that's with the AEW Men's World Heavyweight Championship. Last video coming out of Wrestle Dream before Full Gear, Hangman Adam Page was the current champion. And in that video, I said that MJF would be returning at Full Gear, setting up a championship match at World's End, and would be dethroning Hangman Adam Page. Well, at Full Gear, we got a title change. Hangman Adam Page is no longer holding the World Heavyweight Championship. That man who is the new champion would be Samoa Joe. Yes, I was shocked. I think a lot of the IWC, a lot of the AEW fans out there were shocked to see Samoa Joe be victorious against Hangman in the steel cage match. Ultimately, we saw Hook turn his back on Hangman, rejoin the Ops, cost Hangman the title. So now Samoa Joe is a two-time AEW World Champ, and I'm excited for his run. I thought he did a good job last time when he became the champ. In between, he was kind of the traditional champ, the bridge gap champ, if you will, between MJF, who he won it off of at World's End, and Swerve Strickland, who became the champion at Dynasty in 2024. Well, we did get a return at the end of Full Gear, but it wasn't MJF like I was predicting. It was the guy I was just mentioning who took the championship off of Joe in 2024, and that is Swerve Strickland. Swerve made his return back. I hadn't seen him in a little while. Got some surgery done on his knee. Great to see Swerve back. He looks bigger and more of a badass than he ever has. Came back with some new entrance music. Of course, Prince Nana alongside with them, which I like that touch that they left Nana off of television while Swerve was also off television. Swerve's back. I'm recording this before the fallout from Full Gear Dynamite, as Eric, I always like to do these predictions before the first Dynamite after the most recent pay-per-view airs, because I think it makes the predictions even tougher. I don't know which directions they're going, whereas if I watch Dynamite or Collision before I made these, I might know which feuds are already starting to build and which directions they're heading with certain stories, certain title pictures. So I like to do it this way. So I'm assuming Swerve is going to be going after Joe. Maybe it's not just Swerve. Maybe Hangman as well is involved. Maybe we get a triple threat or three-way match at World's End. I don't know. But with all that said, even though I'd be all for Swerve taking that title off of Joe, I'm sticking with the guy I said in the last video, MJF. I still think he's going to be returning. He's supposed to make an appearance at WrestleCade this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend at that convention. So that tells me if he's popping up doing appearances like that, he's got to be on AEW television really soon. Don't know how he gets the title off Joe. He does have that contract because he's a heel. Joe's a heel. And remember, Joe took the Triple B off MJF at World's End in 2023. So there's something there as well they could play back on. So I'm sticking with my guns here, MJF. Where it happens, I don't know. There's no AEW pay-per-view in January and February. February, they're doing Grand Slam over in Australia. I presume Revolution will be in March. We have not been told, though, the date or location of Revolution 2026. So that's all kind of up in the air right now for guessing. But I'm sticking with my guns. MJF to dethrone Samoa Joe and become the next men's world heavyweight champion. All right, next up, we're going to go with the Unified Championship, which we know the field now for the C2. And last video coming out of WrestleDream before Full Gear, Kazuchika Okada was our Unified Champion. And coming out of Full Gear, he is still our Unified Champion because it was not up for grabs at Full Gear. He was on the Tailgate Brawl. Well, actually, Okada didn't show up until the pay-per-view was on there, but he was in the CMLL Trios title match with Takeshita. Last video, I said I think Takeshita is going to take the Unified title off of Okada. I am sticking to that yet again. They're both in the C2. I think that's where they clash. I think Takeshita gets the upper hand on Okada. Then they head into Wrestle Kingdom, which Takeshita will be defending his New Japan World title over there. Okada, of course, is going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi's last opponent at Wrestle Kingdom 20. But I'm digging the feud here, the growing feud, the hostility, the friction, the tension between these guys within the Don Callis family. So I'm sticking with my guns once again, going with Konosuke Takeshita to be the one to take the Unified title off of Kazuchika Okada. Next up, the TNT Championship coming out of WrestleDream, going into Full Gear last month when we did this video. Kyle Fletcher was the TNT champion as he dethroned Mark Briscoe. And in that video, I thought they were going to be done with that feud because that was Briscoe Fletcher 5 at WrestleDream. Fletcher got the upper hand. I thought he would move on to a different challenger. Briscoe would do something different as well. And in that video, I went with Darby Allin as becoming the next TNT champion. Well, at Full Gear, we got a title change. Kyle Fletcher lost the title to Mark Briscoe, and I wish I would have stuck to my guns coming out of All Out, because coming out of All Out going into WrestleDream, I predicted Briscoe to be the next TNT champion. But with they threw me for a curveball. Should have stuck to my initial thoughts, but I didn't. And we saw Mark Briscoe now become the TNT champion, like I just mentioned. And now I have no idea what direction they're going. I don't think maybe Fletcher does get a rematch, but I don't think he's winning that TNT title back. Good on Mark Briscoe, by the way, winning his first individual gold in AEW. I know he had previously won some individual gold in ROH, but just speaking in terms of AEW, this is his first individual title. So your guess is as good as mine. Who might be the next TNT champion here? This is just a pure shot in the dark. I think he'll be a heel since Briscoe is face, and let's be honest, he's not turning heel anytime soon. I think he's got to hold on to the title for a little while. So with all that said, I'm going with a guy that we just saw turn from face to heel at Full Gear, and that's Hook. Hook has been a trios champion. He's been the FTW champion, AEW, but besides that, he has not held any other gold. So why not strap the TNT title to the young guy and see what he can do? And he might be, with Samoa Joe now as the heavyweight champ, he might be kind of freebirded in with Shibata and Hobbs as part of the trios title holders. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll find out. But this is a tough one to predict. Probably the toughest one for me. So I'm going with Hook, but I'm probably wrong there. Next up, the AEW World Tag Team Championships, going out of Wrestle Dream into Full Gear. Brodito were the tag team champions, and in the last Who's Next video, I said that Eddie Kingston and Hook would be the next tag team champions because at the time they made their intentions clear. They wanted to go after, be a tag team, ultimately go after the belts. Well, now with Hook being a heel, got to think Eddie's going to want Hook to kill Hook, really. We'll be out for murder. And so, yeah, they're not going to be a team anymore, barring any surprise. So I am switching this up, and I have to talk about the new tag team champs because, yes, FTR dethroned Brodito at Full Gear. And when I did the video after All Out going into Wrestle Dream, I thought FTR would be the next champs. Then I changed my mind. I need to stop changing my mind. I need to start just sticking with my initial thoughts, and I think I'll be much better or have a much higher success rate in predicting these title holders and who will ultimately be the title holder, who will dethrone the current title holders in these videos. But so FTR, the new tag team champs coming out of Full Gear, and I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, even if they defend it at World's End and they're still champs going into 2026 with FTR. I think the next champs, the guys to take the titles off Dax and Cash, will be Cope and Cage. Adam Copeland, Christian Cage. I think they should be returning to our TVs here sometime soon. Makes a lot of sense for Tony to give them one more run together, last run with the titles as tag team champions, have them gain another set of tag titles in a different promotion than they previously have. So I'm going with Cope and Christian to dethrone Dax and Cash. Next up, the Trios Championships, currently held by the Ops, as they were in the last video, coming out of Wrestle Dream, heading into Full Gear. Still the Trios champs. And like I said, I don't know if the combination's going to stick with Joe, Shibata, and Hobbs, or now with Hook back in the group, if Hook's going to slide in there and Joe's just going to focus on defending his heavyweight championship. Last video, I went with Hurt Syndicate of MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. I'm switching my pickup this time, and I'm going with a faction that is reformed now as a Full Gear, and that is the Elite, the Elite. Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson of the Young Bucks. I mean, we might see a bigger faction there. We might see, it looks like Jack Perry's back good with the Elite, and Luchasaurus might be filling Okada's void there, and that might be your new babyface faction of 5 different guys within the Elite. But as far as the Trios titles are concerned, going with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks to become Trios champs yet again for the second time. All right, switching gears to the women's titles. Coming out of Wrestle Dream, going into Full Gear, Chris Statlander was our new AEW Women's World Champion. And I predicted that Mercedes Moné would take the belt off of her. And they did match up at Full Gear, but Statlander beat Mercedes, as I actually successfully predicted in our Full Gear predictions that we did. That was one of only 3 matches out of 9 I got right. Historically bad performance by myself and Shep, and that's why the KLB predictions title is now on Pluggo of Love Wrestling's Between Two Beards. He got 6 out of 9 right for, I think it was 28 points. I got 3 out of 9 right for 13 points. Shep only got 2 out of 9 matches right for 8 points. Horrible performance by the Kicking Out Podcast boys. That's why Pluggo has a title. That's why we got to try to get it back next month at World's End. But I digress. with all that said, I'm sticking to the same prediction I've been predicting since I started this series, and that, as far as this title is concerned, and that is Mercedes Moné becoming the next AEW Women's World Champion. Speaking of Mercedes, last video, she was the TBS champion, and I said that Jamie Hayter would be the one to dethrone her. The video before that, I said Athena. Then I changed my mind, went with Jamie Hayter. This video, since Mercedes still is the TBS champion, since she didn't defend at Full Gear, since she was trying to dethrone Chris Statlander, I think Athena's back in the mix now. I think Athena will be the one to dethrone Mercedes. If you recall, Athena and Mercedes were teamed together in the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. That's a tongue twister there. And Mercedes, trying to pay attention to Statlander, ended up costing Athena and Mercedes the match. So there's some loose ends untied there. So I think Athena, that's a great way to get her on AEW television more often, if not full time, putting some gold on her. I think she's the one to dethrone Mercedes for the TBS title. And lastly, for the women's titles, last video, it was announced shortly before that we'd be having the AEW Women's World Tag Team Tournament. And we don't have a current champion, since the winning team is going to be our inaugural tag team champions. And as of this time, we have the Sisters in Sin going against the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. That match actually takes place this week on Dynamite. So by the time you watch this video, we'll probably know who's in the finals out of those two teams. And the Timeless Love Bombs, Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm, are going to take on Megan Bain and Marina Shafir. And the Timeless Love Bombs get to pick the stipulation, since they won the four-way match of all four of those teams I just mentioned at Full Gear. So I've said this from the beginning, since I've been predicting who would be the inaugural AEW Women's Tag Team Champions, and I'm sticking to it. I'm picking Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa to be the AEW Women's Tag Team Champions. And I think they will beat... See, you can't go wrong with any of these teams, because all these ladies deserve a push. I think they will ultimately beat the Sisters of Sin in the tournament finals. I think we see the Sisters of Sin defeat the Babes of Wrath. Just makes sense. Heel team, face team, and Mina and Toni ultimately becoming the champions, because I think with a talent like Timeless Toni Storm, it puts some legitimacy on these titles right away. So, and lastly, this title was not a thing when I did the last video of this Who's Next series coming out of Wrestle Dream before Full Gear, and that is the AEW National Championship, which we saw a bunch of guys competing for in a casino gauntlet match at the Full Gear, and the guy who became the inaugural national champion was Ricochet. So now I'm trying to think, going into World's End, who I think is going to dethrone Ricochet as the second AEW national champion in promotion history. And this is a tough one. It's kind of like the TNT was with Briscoe and Hook for me. This is just a shot in the dark. I'm only going with this guy because he hasn't held individual gold yet. In AEW, he's held tag team gold, but not individual gold. He has a history of Ricochet, an ongoing rivalry with Ricochet in the demand, and that's Mr. Bobby Lashley. I think going into the gauntlet match, a lot of people were predicting either Ricochet or Bobby Lashley to win that gauntlet and become the inaugural national champion. Like how he did with Ricochet, he took a beating from the Syndicate. He took a beating from the Death Riders. And ultimately, he lasted long enough to sneak out a win. And then he pinned Kevin Knight to become the inaugural national champion. So I still don't think they really needed that title. I think there's too many titles in AEW, which they would get rid of some, or unify some more together, like they did the international title and the international title and the Continental class title. I almost said All Atlantic, but that was what the title was before, was the international. So the international, like they unified the international title and Continental title together to be the unified championship in which Okada's currently holding. I wish they would maybe unify a few other titles together, or get rid of some of the ROH titles, unify them. I don't know. Tony's gonna do what Tony wants to do, and we're just fans, right? We're gonna try to enjoy the product to the best of our abilities. So those are my picks, and please drop yours in the comments. I'm always curious to see what you guys think. We're all just guessing. None of us have the pencil, so to speak. Sometimes I wish I did, but no, I'm looking forward to seeing what direction we're heading into World's End. And as for this video series, this will be the last one, like I said, of 2025. Well, actually, I might end up recording one a few days after World's End while we're still in 2025, I guess, going into 2026. But so maybe scratch what I said earlier. But either way, if you're enjoying our content here, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media at Kicking Out Pod. Until next time, have a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, everybody.